Okay, hi everybody, it's Wednesday, Bungo 922 here. Stray Dogs, Season 4, Episode 8. You a child of sin, I a child of sin. Now, this one goes as much as you can think. Now, obviously, with Chuya showing up at the drop of a hat, doing his gravity manipulation, means poor mafia is involved, which is explained in the episode. Basically, the president, he basically made a deal with them. He made a deal with them to protect the detective agency members. That's what he did. Now, as far as I know from what's been going on in the show and from what is really transpiring, we know two things. Number one, the president, he's arrested. We don't know where he is, but he's been arrested. And number two, Dazai. Yeah. Which is funny when you think about it, what happens in that regards, but I'll get that to that later. So we basically start off with Chuya. He gets them on the helicopter. Of course, the hunting dogs are not going to stop. No, Mr. Gin Ichimaru, I'll call him Gin Ichimaru, just, gotta do it, gets his sword shoved into the pile, the helicopter, and stabs, what's his face again? I forget names. I am very, very sorry. I forget names. Kenji, right. He stabs Kenji, and he's hurting, and then Kuneda, it's time to sacrifice myself. That's what he does. He jumps out of the helicopter, kicks the guy that was with the sword, grabs him with his one piece of paper from his notebook, creates a grenade. Boom! Now, I don't think he's dead, but who knows? Now, while this happened, the events of that group who was in the helicopter, they go into a bunker to where the Port Mafias are. Now, the president basically made a deal with the boss of the Port Mafia that they would shelter someone, but there's a price. And you see, this is the theme of this episode. There's a price. There's always a price. They're trying to negotiate with enemies here. That's what they're negotiating with Dave. The president's negotiating with Port Mafia, and later on, Atsushi tries negotiating with the dude from season 2, who was about to kill like 100,000 people. You'll see what I'm talking about. But that seems to be the theme of this episode. Negotiating with enemies who we feel we can trust. Because we can't handle our own selves. It's unbelievable. But the deal was the president would allow one member of the detective agency go back to Port Mafia. But the thing is, he didn't say who it was. Now, what's her name? Yoshiyata? I said that name wrong, didn't I? Akiko. Yosano. Yosano thinks it's her, but we don't know. But that's basically what they're in. They're in the bunker, and they're like high hitting low. Meanwhile, I gotta talk about Dazai. This season so far, in my opinion, the two characters in this season so far who have excelled my expectations have been Rampo and Dazai. You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Rampo, because of how the season started, of his past, of what he was doing here and there, how he warned everybody and they still didn't listen to him. And Dazai, OMG, he gets arrested, gets passed on to whoever, passed on to. I think it was public safety or specifically, I don't really specific who the people were. But he's passed on to military police, but passed off to somebody else. And he gets put into the same prison as the dude who's orchestrating this entire mess, Fyodor. The one who manipulated them. The one who made them think, oh, these people killed the government officials. No, he just made you thought they did. So now it's like they're playing a game of chess. Kudos to Dazai. You get a cookie. Anyway, that's basically what's going on there. Because he's with Fyodor in this prison in Europe that is impenetrable. Can't get it. So that goes on in this episode as well. Now let's talk about Atsushi. He feels powerless. He feels upset. He's with Kyoko. And there's a scene where he's at a low point and he's with Kyoko and she gives him a hat to put on his head so they don't recognize him. And he kind of sees Dazai behind him, but he's not there. And he says something to him, like about giving up and everything. After that, he decides to try to call someone. And remember what I said? Contacting villains, evil people who freaking... He decides to contact Francis Scott Key, the guy from season 2. Now, they get to his high-rise skyscraper, and Atsushi explains to him what's going on, and he says, oh, it's impossible. You can't beat them. You just can't. So he eventually gets him to help him to try to find out where this dude, whose name I keep forgetting, from episode 3, Mushitaro. Mushitaro's the original person who warned them about this case, about not taking this case and to leaving it alone. So Atsushi thinks if he can find out where he is, he can find out what really is going on here. Rob already knows, but So Francis got a stipulation, just like freaking Port Mafia had one. He wants Yusano to cure Margaret. Margaret was the one from season 2 and he decides to agree. Now, surprisingly enough, Port Mafia thinks it's a trap because they think Francis doesn't. It's like, okay, he thinks it's a trap because they eventually find out that Atsushi's coming with this Margaret so she can get healed, but they think it's a trap. It probably is. They probably got the hunting dogs on the outside or some shit, whatever. But that was basically the episode. Overall, this was a lot involved here. And it's very intriguing now. I didn't expect this. Because, this was pretty grim. Let's be honest here. It was pretty freaking grim. It looked like they were all going to get annihilated. And then, here comes Port Mafia. And then, here's Dazai. Now going to be a roadblock. That's what he is. He's being a roadblock to Fyodor so that he can't manipulate reality to his whim anymore. Now he's got to trump Dazai here. It's like, a game of chess, It's insane. I don't know how this is gonna go for next week. I think if it is a trap, this is kind of ridiculous, to be honest, because it's like, okay, Francis, if you're tricking them to do this, what are you getting in return here? Revenge? Like, Anyway, that's basically, I don't think that's going to happen. I think if it does happen that way, okay. Because we still haven't seen all of Port Mafia. The only ones we saw was their boss and Shuya. That's it. And the butler guy. That's the only ones we've seen. We haven't seen, what's his face, whose name I also keep forgetting. Akatakawa. Gawa. Yeah. Mr. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's going at a really high pace, but the thing is this. If it's only 12 episodes, we only have 4 more. I'm hoping it's 13. Or at least there's like a second core coming. Because the way things are going here, I've noticed it's kind of been fast-paced. In a way. But overall, as far as this episode's concerned, I like it where it's going. It's getting a lot more interesting. A lot more intrigue and danger. Kudakeda might be dead. Who knows? And this thing with Dazai, man, I love him. He's like, him and Rampo are one of my favorite characters in the show. Bar none. It's like no, 100%. But as with Bankai 22, gotta give this a 10 out of 10. Dazai, man. You can't pass this dude, man. No way. Ain't happening. He's got you on lock. See you guys later.